Welcome back, my name is Walesa. Today's project is this beautiful mid-century modern dresser. But before diving into today's makeover, let's rewind to yesterday, pickup day. Everything was going according to plan. We delivered 2 dressers for one of my clients and decided to stop by one of our favorite Thai restaurants on that part of town. I had also scheduled to pick up a dresser I bought on Facebook Marketplace, but since we had 1 hour to kill, we decided to go thrifting before heading out to scoop up the dresser. And this is when things took a turn. Well, it has been an adventure. We went to pick up this dresser. This was a Facebook Marketplace find. Get out of the car, pay, load it in the back of the van, and all of a sudden, the van wouldn't start. The sellers were really nice. They were this young couple that tried to help us jump the van, but we didn't get very far. They offered to drive us to Costco to buy a new battery. 2 hours later, we're finally driving home. Thankfully, it was a battery. They were very sweet. There's still kind people out there. Was this unexpected car trouble a sign of how this makeover was going to go? We're about to find out. The finish on this piece has a high gloss, which usually indicates they use lacquer to protect it. However, the lacquer had many cracks all throughout the entire dresser. My goal is to get rid of the dated yellow finish and make the wood grain shine again, but let's see if we can accomplish it. My experience with these lacquer top coats is that it's better to use a furniture stripper than to try to sand them off. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but there are a lot of cracks on the top. The more I'm inspecting the piece, the more cracks I'm finding from that lacquer that they use to protect, I believe, the entire piece. That tells me that it's gonna be challenging to remove it. I love the curvature on the legs of these very mid-century modern style vase. There are a couple very unique features to this dresser, and one of them is that I believe the backing is done with cedar. And the screws that are keeping it in place look like they're made out of solid brass, which again, you don't see very often. This is my first time seeing a dresser that has a frame that's made out of metal. That explains why it's so heavy. I think I'm gonna try and keep this hardware because I love the curviness of it. So pretty. The drawers slide smoothly, which is great, but they're gonna need a little bit of sanding inside. Add some white vinegar and water mixture, half and half. And I'm gonna let these hardware soak. It's such a great quality. I really wanna preserve it. Take things from a house and not need like a super deep clean. So before I commit myself to stripping the entire piece, I want to test a small spot with Green Easy. However, when the coat of lacquer is this thick, sometimes Green Easy doesn't do a whole lot, and then I have to go for the very strong, not eco-friendly products. But I'm gonna test it out. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna let it sit for about half hour. While I wait to see if Green Easy is going to remove the finish, I'm sanding one of the drawers to find out what gets me to the bare wood faster, sanding or stripping. I'm gonna be using a 120 grit on my sander and see how it goes. that the square one did was to remove the sheen, but that is it. I'm hoping that by using the orbital, which is more aggressive than the square one, I'm gonna be able to remove it a little faster again. It seems like even when using 100 grit, the finish is not going anywhere. Gonna be really surprised if Green Easy removes that, because I've dealt with this type of lacquer that they used back in the day that's so good but such a pain to remove. Most likely I'm gonna have to run to the hardware store to buy another furniture stripper brand that it's more toxic for the environment. I don't like it as much, but it works. Not seeing much of anything. Yeah, unfortunately none of the actual finish is coming off, just the furniture stripper. You can see that the actual top coat's still there. It didn't do a thing. Let's go buy some supplies since the stripper that I have doesn't work. I'm gonna go with just the premium stripper, clean and strip. It works well. It's super stinky though. Again, I don't buy these unless I have to. So it looks like Barathane has some water-based stains now. I think I'm gonna try the espresso because it might look cool with that wood. Let's give it a whirl. As always, I recommend that you protect your eyes, your skin, make sure that your working area is well ventilated. I wouldn't use anything like this indoors. That's why it's good to tackle these projects during the summer. This is gonna catch all the gunk that comes from the dresser. That's the hope. If there is one thing I've learned about stripping finishes over the years is that your layer of these chemicals can never be applied too thick. The thicker the better. I highly recommend applying it one section at a time and immediately covering that area to prevent the stripping agent from drying out. You're gonna find out that applying a thick layer of the chemical on the sides gets a little bit trickier just because the product starts running down, but the piece of plastic also helps so that the product stays in place. Friends, when it comes to furniture refinishing, not all the roads lead to Rome. Many times it takes trying and testing different products to accomplish the goal. I came to check on this side and it looks promising. It looks like the stripping agent is actually working and some of that finish is coming off. Gonna wait half hour. The container says 15 minutes, but I know better. I'm gonna give it a half hour here. Let's see what we got. Okay, that looks good, promising. Unfortunately, there were some spots where the stripper dried out. When this happens, you'll want to apply more of the chemical stripper to reactivate it. The only difference is that this time you don't have to wait the full 15 minutes. You're gonna see that even after 5 minutes, you're gonna be able to scrape it right off. I'm going to start washing off any residue the stripper left using clean strip after wash and 000 steel wool. Good morning. So yesterday I spent the day stripping the old finish. The good news is that that thick layer of lacquer is completely gone. Today I'm just gonna take a couple hours sanding with 150 grit to get the surface smooth out. I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do with the base. I think I might paint it in a dark color. That one did not get stripped yesterday. It's supposed to be really hot by noon today. I'm gonna try to beat the heat and just dedicate 2 hours this morning to sand and get that part done here. I started sanding with 120 grit and finished with a 180 grit. But as I'm sanding, something about the wood feels a little bit off and the surface is not looking as smooth as I had hoped. I also started thinking seriously about the base and how it was so beautiful that I really wanted it to stand out somehow, some way. I think I'm gonna be sanding it to bare wood and staining it. Some of the parts were hard to reach, so I thought it would be easier if I just remove the front and the back so I can have easy access for sanding. When it was time to rinse the piece, not only did I clean it using a TSP alternate, I also wiped it down with acetone, hoping it would help with the unevenness in the color of the wood grain. But unfortunately, I didn't notice any difference. The inside of the drawers feel tacky to the touch. I'm assuming it comes from a glue residue left by the peel and stick that they used to line the drawers. I'm gonna be using the scrape it to remove it and then give it a good wipe down. But before I even get into that, I'm removing this tray that I don't think people find useful these days. Getting ready to head back to the shop. I am worried about a couple spots that look a little bit patchy. I'm gonna keep an eye on those, but I'm definitely gonna be using some pre-stained wood conditioner to make sure that if there is patchiness, it's minimized. So let's head to the shop and I'll see you there. This is the side that I'm concerned about. Can you see there are some dark spots, lighter spots? I try sanding it again, cleaning it, and it's just not looking any better, you guys. It's recommended that you apply a wood conditioner or a pre-stain before you apply any sort of stain. And you always want to make sure that if you are going to be applying an oil-based stain, that you have a wood conditioner that's oil-based. This promotes the absorption of that stain. So I'm hoping it will help. We'll see. To apply the wood conditioner, you can always use a brush or a lint-free cloth. Make sure to apply it across the grain until the wood is saturated, and then wipe any excess off. Then you'll want to let it penetrate for 30 minutes before staining. I poured a little bit of the stain with some mineral spirits because I noticed that the stain was getting thick. So that's a tip for you. If you have stain that has been sitting around for a while and is getting thick, you can just add a little bit of mineral spirits. That will thin it back. I'm even more worried now that I apply this stain because now the entire piece looks patchy. I don't know. I'm just going for it. Holy moly, that is so patchy. I'm applying a thin coat, and I don't think I'm gonna wipe it back. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna apply it and leave it. Okay, unfortunately, I'm sad to say that it's looking worse and worse by the minute. If you're up close, it looks fine, but if you pull out, can you see the blotchiness? Swear to you that I follow all the steps, and I've done these a lot of times. I'm gonna have to change gears because I do not like it. I'm gonna be wiping off the stain using steel wool and mineral spirits, scrub it back off. I wish I knew. You guys, I'm so frustrated. I have mineral spirits, so I'm just gonna go ahead and scrub these. It happens, and sometimes you don't know until you know. Removing the stain also means that I can no longer stain this wood the regular way. So I need to come up with a solution that can darken the grain without using a stain. Good morning. So we're back to not square one, but I don't really know how I'm gonna go about it. So we'll talk about it over coffee. How about that? But no matter what I decide to do next, I think the project is gonna benefit by using a sanding sealer that is just gonna help to seal and any pores in the wood so that whatever I do next is gonna look more even. So I had to think about it for a little while. I think I'm going to tint my top coat with a dark color and then spray the piece. Basically getting painted and top coated at the same time. An hour since I applied the last coat of shellac, I ended up applying 2 coats. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick scuff sand using a 220 grit. That way when I apply the paint and top coat mix, it's gonna be able to adhere. Okay, I've never done this technique before where I mix top coat with paint and just apply it directly to the piece, unless I've previously painted the piece. So I'm hoping that it's still gonna look like it's stained, and I'm hoping that it's not going to completely cover the veneer. So this is gonna be a test. I hope we get good results, and I hope that you learn from everything that you've watched so far. Thank you if you're still hanging out here. 3 parts top coat, 2 part paint, and I'm hoping it's gonna look like it's stained. We're gonna test this out, you guys. We're gonna test this out. Have to mix it really, really well until the color becomes uniform. Right, here goes nothing. For the best. So far, the tinted top coat is doing what I wanted it to do, which is darkening the look of the wood grain without covering it like paint would. First coat in, it looks ashy. I don't know how I feel about it after the first coat, so I'm gonna try one more coat. Can you guys see almost like a shadow here? And that's because I sprayed this middle part, and I like it because it's almost like it's giving the drawer a little bit of a frame. So I'm gonna try to replicate that little shadow with a sprayer by just spraying the edges first. I've used paint to highlight, enhance, or add depthness to a finish, but never tinted top coat on a sprayer. So this is the first time trying anything like it. Not sure if you guys can see that shadow, but it's definitely a lot more predominant in person. I'm gonna try and create the same shadow in between the drawers. Just playing with it at this point because why not? It's growing on me, so I'm going with it. I'm sure you could tell when I sanded it that this wood is just a lot lighter than what's going on in the rest of the piece. So I did a little test using this water-based stain from Barathane in the color Espresso. It resembles the darker shaded areas that I sort of created with the spray gun. I'm hoping that it looks close enough that the piece is gonna look cohesive at the end. This is totally not what I was planning on. I just hope I love it, you guys. There's one thing that I did that I didn't record, and that is after the stain dry here on the base, ended up applying 3 coats of the same tinted top coat I apply on the rest of the dresser. Once the base had dried, we screwed it back on to the dresser. My friends, I am so happy that we are here at the finish line. This is where our dresser started, and this is how he looks today. Yes, it's been a long journey full of obstacles, but we overcame it all. And I must say, I'm pretty surprised with myself. The spraying of the tinted top coat came through, and these results are beautiful. That's what I think anyways. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of today's transformation? And I will see you next time.